there were two really powerful moments from the hearing that go right to the heart of what's happening in this country every day and why the Democrats cannot be trusted and the Democrats need to be kept away from power. We need to do everything possible to keep them away from power. This is when Bill Barr finally did get to speak for a moment. He talked about the protests, quote unquote, which are riots, which are assaults, which are domestic terrorism going on in Seattle and Portland. I mean, remember, they're blinding police officers now. You're not seeing that blasted out all over the news site, all of the news organizations. They're trying to intentionally blind cops. If someone tried to blind me and I had to kill them to stop them from doing it, I would not feel badly. I'm not going to go blind because someone is a moron who thinks they're fighting some revolution against the United States. If I had to use lethal force to defend myself from someone blinding me with a laser, I would do that, and I would not feel guilty about it for a second. In fact, I'd say, I'm glad I had the ability to use the lethal force. And if they took me into court for it, I'm sorry, not going blind. They are blinding police officers on purpose, trying to, and they may have already succeeded. Think about what that would be like for you, for your family. Oh, but they're just protesters. That's a lie. And the scum at CNN and MSNBC who play these games, mostly peaceful protests. We don't like the violence, but, we're not going to condemn it. They should be ashamed of themselves, but they have no shame. They are, by their very nature, by their character, shameless. Attorney General Barr was able to at least tell the country what's happening in Portland specifically. Play clip 2.
In the wake of George Floyd's death, violent rioters and anarchists have hijacked legitimate protests to wreak senseless havoc and destruction on innocent victims. The current situation in Portland is a telling example. Every night for the past 2 months, a mob of hundreds of rioters have laid siege to the federal courthouse and other nearby federal property. The rioters have come equipped for fight, armed with powerful slingshots, tasers, sledgehammers, saws, knives, rifles, and explosive devices. Inside the courthouse are a relatively small number of federal law enforcement personnel charged with a defensive mission to protect the courthouse. What unfolds nightly around the courthouse cannot reasonably be called protest. It is, by any objective measure, an assault on the government of the United States. As elected officials of the federal government, every member of this committee, regardless of your political views or your feelings about the Trump administration, should condemn violence against federal officers and the destruction of federal property.
What occurs nightly around the courthouse cannot be reasonably called a protest by any objective measure. It is an assault on the government of the United States. You see, the left, the libs, the Democrats, they think that they have a right to do that. They believe that they have the right to assault the government of the United States when Donald Trump is the president. They think this is fully justified. They've been doing this in different ways for years. And there is no principle that they are trying to protect in any of this. This is about the relentless pursuit of power. The Attorney General making this point so that everybody could hear these are not protests. We are in an era now where you have more ability than ever to have your voice heard, to spread your information, to spread your message. Now, of course, we're talking about tech giants and the way that they restrict that. They don't restrict it for libs. You want to be a crazy Antifa loon and say America should be socialist and we should all listen to AOC, abolish the police, Green New Deal. You want to be that monumentally stupid. You can go for it. Spread it all over the place. Have all your buddies click like and share it around and all that stuff. What's with the attacking a courthouse? Why do that? Because it is a transfer of power. It changes the perception that the federal government under Donald Trump is a legitimate governing body. That's what they are doing. That is the purpose of the theatrics here and the reason for the violence, the reason for the destruction. And I'm glad the Attorney General was able to tell America, when he wasn't being interrupted, to tell America about that. That's telling. people who are talking about these protests and, oh, the moms in Portland defending people. It's very straightforward. Protesters who don't do illegal crap and try to hurt people or destroy things can do, no one stops them. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. If they're protesting unconstitutional lockdowns, then governors will send cops in, and then they'll be threatened and face, because their First Amendment rights don't count. You gotta keep locking down forever. But if you're a Democrat stooge, then yeah, of course you can do whatever you want and get out there, protest, be as loud as you want. But the law is the law. It either applies to all of us or it doesn't. You either get in trouble for defacing federal property, or no one should get in trouble for defacing federal property, right? I don't want to live in a two-tiered justice system. That was the primary message at the start of the hearing, going into the hearing, from the Attorney General about why he even took the job. We live in a two-tiered justice system now in this country. We need to set it right. Libs are so sanctimonious and delusional and emotionally unstable and self-righteous that they really think the laws don't apply to them. Not when it comes to protest, not when it comes to abuse of power, not when it comes to corruption. Oh, no. Doesn't apply to them. Just like we see with the lockdowns. You wear a mask and social distance and don't have a job or else. But, fancy libs, they'll break the rules when and how they see fit and expect there to be no consequences to it. But there was really, in some ways, an equally, and you could argue even more troubling exchange that goes to the heart of all of this. And I often tell you about the mass psychosis, the delusion of the Democrats in the Trump era, and how just incredibly, really unhinged and vicious they are about this. And I'm somebody who, I've grown up around Democrats. I live in a Democrat city. I have seen this change. There is nothing like what we are in the middle of now. There is nothing like this before in my lifetime, certainly in American politics, where if you vote Republican, if you support the president of the United States, you are a target for destruction and humiliation. It doesn't matter if you're a public person or not. They just can't help themselves. They have truly lost it. And there's no sense, overriding sense of honor, of decency, of kindness. I know that word people laugh at when you say it in the context of politics, but I go hard at the Democrats and at the left on Twitter, and I do make fun of politicians, but I do have limits. First of all, I don't go after civilians. I'm not mocking people and trying to humiliate individuals ever. And I also try to keep it on the issues. I also try to keep it about what the arguments are. And not going, I certainly don't do the things that libs always do, make fun of people's appearance, make fun of their name, make fun of their family. I mean, the libs do this constantly. It's just a part of their political culture now. You're ugly, you're the worst, no one likes you. I mean, they really try to go after people in a way that is disgusting. And you might say, well, that's just social media and people act like maniacs on it. But no, it's representative of the way that political party views its mission and its goal, which is scorched earth, stop at nothing. And there's no sense of mercy, of fair play, of decency that comes into this. Whatever it takes to win, whoever gets destroyed, we don't care. That is their approach, which is why Donald Trump was such a breath of fresh air for so many of us, because he came in and said, no, not going to let you do this. Not going to let you humiliate me. Not going to bend the knee like some wimp like Mitt Romney. Not going to do it. Here is an exchange between the Attorney General and a sitting member of Congress. Now, let's understand this. He's a member of Congress from Georgia. Let's understand that their theory is that the Attorney General interceded on behalf of Roger Stone because he's Trump's buddy. That's the theory, and they all believe this. The Attorney General, the entirety of the Roger Stone prosecution, which only happened because of a sham investigation, but he did mislead the investigators. The Attorney General said it was a righteous prosecution. You cannot lie to investigators. The problem was just, why would you send this guy to prison for twice as long as anybody else under the same circumstances? he wasn't getting special positive treatment within the DOJ because of his ties to Trump. He was getting special negative treatment. They were making an example out of him, out of Roger Stone, because of his connection to Trump. And look at the way this exchange actually happens, or listen to the way it does when the Attorney General just asks a question that just a normal, rational, reasonable person would want an answer to. Play clip 8.
You think the American people don't understand that you were carrying out Trump's?
I was not. I had not discussed my sentencing recommendation with anyone at the White House or anyone, or anyone outside the department.
Wanted you to do, and that's what you did.
No.
Attorney General.
Let me ask you, do you think it's fair? Do you think it is fair for a 67-year-old man to be sent to prison for 7 to 9 years?
It was in accordance with the sentencing.
No, it was not.
Notice this congressman. Yeah, that's right. It was in accordance with, send Roger Stone. I don't give a crap what the guidelines say. And as the Attorney General points out, they actually weren't it was way above the guidelines. For the record, this guy questioning him was not impressive, to say the least. One of the least capable of all the questioners among the Democrats, which is really saying something. I mean, you got Eric Swalwell with his IQ probably somewhere in the mid 80s. You look at this issue and you say, how could anyone think that sending Roger Stone, a 67-year-old man, to prison for 7 to 9 years for a nonviolent crime where there's really it's a process crime. It didn't stop anything from happening. It didn't hurt anyone. It didn't do anything. It was essentially just showing disrespect to the Mueller probe, which, while technically you can't do, I totally understand why he did it. I wouldn't have lied, but I would have told them to blank themselves whenever I got the opportunity. Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.